Yeah, hello. We are happy that you are here. We will talk about an investigation we did on right-wing terrorism, on people in the crosshairs of right-wing terrorism. We hope that we can give you a kind of ideas, examples, and inspiration for your own investigations, not only in this sphere, but also maybe in other spheres. And we hope we are not boring you.
Yeah.
My name is Schraven. I'm publisher of Correctiv, and
Yeah. You can.
What?
Can weiter.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm also very happy about everyone who's here. I am working as a junior investigative journalist at Correctiv in Berlin. My name is Sophia Stahl. I'm 24 years old. And as I'm still learning, I'm part of different types of investigations, like investigations about the climate change, but also financial subjects as cum-ex and also right-wing terrorism in Germany.
Yeah. Maybe in the beginning some words on Correctiv. Correctiv is an investigative newsroom, independent newsroom, and we not only do stories, but we're also looking always for ways how to tell the story, how to get the story to the people so people are interested in the stuff we do. So it's not only about writing lines in a newspaper or filling a format in TV. It's more about how we can have an impact to people who read our stories or consume our stories that is longer lasting. And that was also the case here.
Yeah. The most important fact about right-wing terrorism in Germany is that it happened continuously. For example, as you see in the presentation, fire attacks on refugee accommodations, especially in the 80s in Germany, but it's also an actual problem. For example, in the last year, there were more than 200 fire attacks in Germany. And yeah, that's also one example for right-wing terrorism in Germany. There are always more. And we work on that with various focus and formats. For example, a data-driven research about right-wing terror in social media. The name was No Filter for the Right. Or a graphic novel about the way of teenager who dives deeper and deeper into the world of hate and racism.
Jo.
And we collected leaks and documents for years, and we saved them in our library of hidden documents. It's the biggest collection about right-wing terror in Germany. We don't delete anything, so it grows and grows, more than 10,000 pages, and you can search there with keywords, places, and everything that comes to your mind to find connections. For example, a colleague of us found via DNA that occurred at different scenes a connection between cases. Yeah, and now we have this big, huge database, more than 10,000 pages about right-wing terror in Germany, and we had to ask ourselves how we can handle with that, how we do set anew in a way to focus. Just writing about Nazis who are doing Nazi stuff is not new, and it's also boring for our audience. So we have to find a new way, because at the same time the terror endangers us all as a society, and how we can trigger this emotion. This was an important question for us.
Yeah. And as Sophia said, the amount of files that we collected, it's really huge. And the good thing is, if you're a newsroom, you don't have to burn your files after like 10 years or 15 or 20 years. So you can hold them and can work further on with them. And that is a very big thing, because our files are like 30 years old and growing and ongoing and ongoing. And when we had a look through them, first we thought of, okay, we will reconstruct the network of right-wing terrorists in Germany. But then we thought it's more or less just a collection of names of Nazis. And who's interested in this? It's like, okay, a lot of Nazis, yeah, this is what we know. And then we saw that within these amounts of tons of files and documents, there are always target lists. So the Nazis are like real Nazis. They write down who they want to kill. They collect these names. Sometimes they are lazy, so they copy-paste the names from other lists of Nazis. And so they've got a growing list of people they want to kill. And then we thought maybe we focus instead on the Nazis, on the targets. So we report on the victims before they are victims. We show the people who are in the crosshairs before maybe even they know that they are in the crosshairs. So we refocus ourselves completely from the bad people who do the deeds to the people who become the victims. And then we might look for something that is, or we'll find something that is more interesting, something that people can rely to, something people can understand. And that was the reason why we said, okay, what is the best way for others to connect to others? It's humans. It's basic journalism task. You know, people are interested in people, so we just show people, and we show how they are as humans. And this is like what we found.
Yeah. For example, this is Günther Morsch. He is 68 years old, and he's currently retired. He loves birds and enjoys looking at them in the nature. And as an example, with him, we wanted to focus on the similarities, the things that connect people and not separate them from each other. And this is why we focused on things intending to represent them as humans. Okay, this is Sevim Dagdalin. She used to have to work as a cleaning lady as a young woman, and now she is a famous politician. And this is Bischof Overbeck. He always buys too many books, and he can't read them all because he already bought too much. And this is Gina Peach. She's a singer and a teacher for actors. She loves poems from Brecht, and I talked with her like 2 hours about Brecht and her passion for that. And this is Karamba Diaby. He has a really close relationship to his sister, and because his parents died when he was really young. So he talked with me about his sister and what she means for him. And this is Lale Akgün. She seems to be quite serious on this picture, but she's really funny. She loves to make jokes about her husband because he's obsessed with saving money. And she talked with me like also 3 hours about that. Yeah. And this is Paul Ziemiak. He's a famous politician in Germany. He's a Polish refugee, and he still loves basic Polish food like pierogi. And the most important thing is about our 57 portraits. The people, they don't have much in common except being humans and being Democrats. They are in different parties, they argue, they have different religions, they are old and young and have different origins. But all together as a group, they represent our open and democratic society. And they are an important part of our society because some of them working for us as Bischof Overbeck or Paul Ziemiak, and the terrorists want to kill them. So the terrorists endangers us all.
And what I think what is so important, just have a look again at these faces, you know. It's just ordinary people. And I mean, when you see it, it's like, why somebody want to kill him? What is the reason just to kill them? And as you see from the faces on, they have like almost nothing in common. Not the religion, as you said, nothing. And what I think what is so strange about it, the only thing they have in common is they want to be in a society that is free, where you can argue, where you can have different views. And now think what might happen if these Nazis would come to power. They would put these people in prison, in concentration camps, and they would kill them. I know you think, this is exaggerated, it's too much, it's not true. It is true, unfortunately. And here you see how many people the fascists in Germany already killed over the last like 30 years. They are doing this, they're killing people. And they're killing the people because these humans we showed are just for an open society, for a society we can live in. And then you say, okay, but it's only 200 or around 200 people they killed. They are not planning for anything big, like, as we said on this target list, in Germany are about 35,000 people. It's the size of a small town. They prepare stuff. They prepare ammunition depots, they prepare body bags, and even slaked lime for these, they call it day X, when they start their killing spree. And here you see, I hope you can see it, at least it's how many ammunition they found in different cities across Germany. And in our investigation, we spoke to some of these right-wingers who have depots of ammunition and weaponry in Dortmund, in an ordinary workers' town. It's there. And they waiting for day X or just randomly kill people. And this is, not very good.
Yeah, but with our research, we didn't just want to reach our usual readers, we wanted to reach more people, people who might be otherwise not be that interested in our researches. So we had to put our research right in front of them, as you see. We did an exhibition, and for example, we placed them on the way to the supermarkets, on the way to the cinema, on the way to schools. So people see it by accident, and you couldn't miss it because it was quite big. And how do we get the exhibition into all the cities? We work with 10 different local teams with local media, and we focused on the local media because we need them to get in contact with people on the ground. So we focused on small local newspapers, and the partners did also some research in our library of hidden documents and took over the organization in cities, like planned events with us and talked with the cities. So we traveled through Germany for half a year, and whenever we came to a new city, we had a new reason to publish our research. So we published for 6 months with our media partners researches about right-wing terrorism in Germany with different focus and different results, but always publishing continuously. We were always there in the cities to talk with the people, and that means we have learned a lot about people in Germany and their needs and interests. Yeah, and we also wrote articles for Correctiv and for our local partners. And we also did an exhibition book. So we published our research in 3 different ways: exhibition, the website of Correctiv, and in local newspapers. So we reach people in 3 different ways. And in the cities, we also did events and guided tours, and this was really important, so you can rebuild trust sometimes, for example, when you talk with people and you explain the way of the researchers and how journalists working.
Yeah, and in the end, it was from the journalistic side, from the publication side, most successful for such a kind of an investigation. Usually when you do something like this, you publish a very long article, it's somewhere on the website, and after a couple of days or weeks, it will be forgotten more or less. And to the common audience, nobody's like really digging into it. And in this case, we had not only one story, we had about 400 stories. Not only stories, but it was podcasts, it was video stuff, we had broadcasts, we had interviews in radio stations, whatever. So we were able to, at least for half a year, bring this big story to small cities. That way we could reach way more people than just publishing an article somewhere. And what I think what is interesting about that is you can involve more people. You're not going to do the work alone, but with partners in other cities and other institutions. And this gives everybody more of the same story. Yeah. Economics is also mine, right?
Yeah.
And it's also good on the sides of money, by the way. If you have seen, we published also a book, this one, on the right. And through this book, we were able to raise also a lot of money, a lot of funds. So on the right side, you see how we spent the money. For the investigation itself, it was not so much money. It was around 30,000 euros. The logistics of such a project is immense, so it costs way more money. All the preparational work. So in total, it was around 120,000 euros. And you might think, oh, that's a lot of money for one story. It's a lot of money, but it's not so much. So usually TV production is in the same range of it. But on the same time, we were able to raise money with this project. So as I said already, for the book sales brought in money. We were able to convince people to support this work to go through the country. That brought in money. And we were able to raise small donations from ordinary people who saw the work and said, hey, that's cool. That's something that is necessary. And this is also important because these people, these supporters, you not only have one time, but on a longer run. And this is something that enriches or helps your newsroom in like 15 years, I hope.
Yeah, and the most important learning for us is the research must come directly to the people and not the people to the research. So we have to focus on the way we want to get in touch with other people. So we should not think that people will come to us on their own. Sometimes the truth must be exact in front of them, so they couldn't miss it. But we have also other useful tips, because it's not that easy to do an exhibition, as we learned. For example, we had problems with the wind at the beginning, and so your exhibition has to be stable, but at the same time suitable and easy to handle. And beware of securities. For example, we had sometimes to deal with pandemic restrictions or weather conditions. And the guided tours are really useful to build trust and to show that you are also interested into the people and being able to answer questions. And yeah, the open air was really useful for us because of the pandemic, for example. And people see it by accident, so you can reach a lot of more people. And be there, listen and discuss. It's a chance to rebuild trust and engage new audience.
Yeah, and I also want to add the thing that we did it on the market squares was really by accident. So we wanted to do it in-house. Then of the pandemic, they said, no, we can't do any exhibition in-house. And we were forced to just do it outside. And then we thought, okay, if we are already outside, we can go to the central square. Otherwise, it doesn't make so much sense. And this turned out to be like a really good decision. We had bad places where we were not really on the central market square, but we had also very good places where we were in the central squares. And when you are there, when you make small events, when you are there to talk to people, it attracts a lot of interest. It's not that they are overrunning your exhibition, like hundreds of people at one time, but constantly you are in touch with a lot of people. And this is something, from my perspective, I'm thinking of this very hard, how we can do this in a better way and how we can do more with this. One of these ideas is, for example, maybe we just show a big story on a central markets church, make it a screen. In my hometown, I was able to convince the church already that they put a screen on the church, and now we can watch documentaries on this church. And this is something that is very useful for public debate. What remains? As I already said, the collection of these information, this stuff, is extremely useful. Usually, after such an investigation, one would just go and say, I skip it. I put it somewhere in a trash bin. I'm fed up with all the story, and I'm fed up with all these investigations. I don't want the files anymore. But we said, no, we are collecting these files and we're piling them up. We make them searchable. Unfortunately, it's not possible to publish these files. It's against the data security stuff, you know. There are names in it, and obvious reasons the data security guys say you can't publish fascist names, what I think is, so what we did is we made a library of secret documents, of hidden documents. And people who want to investigate next time, they don't have to start from the very beginning, but they can use our files and can start working with this. And becoming a member of the hidden library, these people turn into journalists. And if you are a journalist, you are protected by the European media privilege. So you can search in files without any data protection stuff. You can erase these termination stuff, so you can really dig deep into stuff. And this is our library of hidden documents. And as you see here, it's also useful for all the stuff that comes from Russia. And, yeah. Any questions? Any coffee? Sounds, yeah. More people want coffee than questions, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I was wondering if you can explain more or less how long it took you to think about all of this distribution model, how long ago you started planning on the events or on the exhibition itself, and yeah, just that. Thank you.
Maybe I start with the planning phase and you on the exhibition stuff.
Yeah.
So the whole project started 5 years ago. That was when we started to bring together all these documents and stuff. It took 4 years to have it ready. Then we saw, okay, what is the story we are going to tell? To get the idea, it took maybe 4 or 5 months. It was a lot of discussion. And initially we wanted to do what we usually do, you know, a fancy line where you see the connections between the Nazis. But suddenly we understood that this is completely the wrong direction. It's only showing the bad guys. But what about the targets? What about the people who are affected? And of course, if you only show the bad guys, there's no connection from the audience to what is going on. But they need to understand that they are themselves, that the society they live in is the target. And this took quite a long time. The production of the exhibition itself, we constructed it all by our own, the stables. We wanted to buy it, but it was 50,000 euros only for the frames. And then we said, okay, we can do it on our own. So we built it. It took 6 weeks. And organizing the exhibitions itself,
Yeah, I think for our media partners it was 2 weeks, but 2 weeks full of work, planning events, doing researches, talking with the cities about restriction. I think maybe it would be easier next year without a pandemic, but it was I would say 2 weeks of work for them.
and preparatory work was from, okay, we want to join, till you convince your editor-in-chief, till you convinced the guys on the ground you need to work with. It took also half a year. So we constantly work together in this newsroom, kind of newsroom with the local partners for almost 10 months, something like this. Mm.
And we meet once in a week, so we could talk about problems, new findings, key findings. And we were in contact all the time.
And especially for these temporary newsroom, where you work together with other partners from other newsrooms, it's crucial to have something like this. If everybody works on his own and brings only together the stuff he did, it doesn't work. Yeah?
On the last topic you spoke about collaboration, you work together with quite small newspapers in Germany. So I'm wondering first why, and then how did you come to pick or select these specific partners?
Yeah. Most of these partners were from cities where people were killed, and Then we choose local newspapers. Usually they are not partners in collaborations, you know. Most of the time news organizations tend to work together with like the big ones, the big outlets. And we thought, no, we want to work with the people where it counts, who are in touch with the audience itself, where it's close, where people understand what a human is. This was the reason why we choose local newsrooms.
And also because they know the people on the ground, so they know like difficult topics in the society and in the city, so it was really useful to work with them.
I have maybe two questions. The first one would be like, would you maybe like to talk about a little more about how you collected all that data? Like, it took a lot, you said it took several years actually. You said in the beginning you had like DNA samples and stuff. Like, that'd be really interesting to understand a little bit more about that. And then the second question would be, so you chose to focus on like the potential targets or victims of right-wing terrorism, but did you also like maybe have questions about, you know, what's the consequences of your investigation? Like, for example, I don't know, why do these lists exist in the first place? What's the problem with police? Maybe that we have that problem over so many years that people are actually getting killed. What needs to change? Yeah, more like in the generic picture of terrorism.
Magst du zuletzt nicht noch zu den Dokumenten?
Ja.
Fang an.
Okay, I think I will answer to the last question at the beginning. So yeah, we also did write like researches about structures and society, not only about the victims. So there were like also articles about problems with the police, as you already said, or problems also with our politicians. And these were like articles, but the focus was on the people. So the people in our society first can connect and can understand the problem, and then they can read more about it and can like understand like difficult structures and the problems behind of them.
Yeah. And maybe what is also interesting to these questions, when we, you know, it was a book, it was this thick, and it was too heavy to bring it here. This is the reason why we made this small thing, which is handy to use. And there was all the big stuff in it. So we did all the work that is necessary to be done, but we presented it in a different way. And we had a lot of discussions on how we can present the people in the crosshairs, how we can present the possible victims. We would victimize them even more, we thought. When we say, no, these guys should be killed, you know, the right-wingers say we want to kill them. So maybe somebody of the crowd would say, good task, maybe I'll go kill him, you know. And we discussed that, and that was a major thing. So we couldn't take people who didn't know that they were in the crosshairs. We talked to some of them, and we couldn't make it, you know. It just, they are really in danger. So we say, okay, we back off that. Then we said, we need to present people who are already in danger and who know about the danger and who can handle that danger. And this was the reason why we collected these 57 portraits of people who are more or less prominent and know about what they are into. But the first guy we showed to you, this old man, Morsch, he didn't know anything about that he was endangered. Police never talked to him. Nobody came ever to his house and said, maybe you should take care. He was traveling every morning on his bike to his work. And yeah, he was not very happy when we approached him and said, they want to kill you. And
I want to add something. We also write like for every person a small guideline, so they know when a big published event was, they can call this number if they have problems like with right-wing terror, and we wrote like some tips for them, so they are also prepared.
Yeah, that was very important. On the documents, that was ordinary work. like investigative work. It was police files, court files, Untersuchungsausschüsse. You know, when there's a proceeding in Parliament and there's a hearing in Parliament, this stuff, and as many evidence it was possible to get your hands on, everything. Some leaks, some whatever that there was. What was interesting about that, from the old files, there weren't digitized yet. So we went to places where we could digitalize them and put them into our library. And it's ongoing work. For example, right now, we get the stuff from the right-wingers in the former communist Germany, part of Germany, GDR. And they had also fascists, and they brought the fascists from GDR to West Germany and used them as spies, which is also a very interesting story. But this is stuff 30, 40, 50 years old or 60 years old.
And our partners are still able to use our library of hidden documents, so they are still doing some researches about right-wing terrorism. First?
With the exhibitions in like the markets, what's the sort of impact that you hope to see? Were you looking to start conversations between people? Were you trying to get a sense of how many people might pass by? We've done exhibitions as well before. We've been asked to sort of share the impact they have, and it's very hard to quantify something like that.
Should I? Yeah, for example, there were like, in small cities, it was like the exhibition was subject for 1 week. For example, schools came, we talked with young people, but also old people. For example, in the morning, we reach old people, and in the afternoon, we reach families. And we talked with them, and with the guided tours, we are able to present some background information, so they are getting aware of this problem.
And what I think is also easy or hard to understand, or I don't know, if you are with an exhibition on the Central Market Square in a small town, everybody talks about you. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's in the paper or not, everybody's talking about you. Everybody saw you. And this is, yeah, that was a smart idea. Yeah?
So is it in your interest to expand also in other European countries, since the neo-Nazis and neo-fascists are kind of a European problem?
Yeah, we did it. We are trying to do it with another exhibition, but it's pretty difficult. This exhibition is easy to fold. The other exhibition takes more time to fold, and it's more difficult. And this we do with Can Dündar of Özgürüz, former Cumhuriyet, and it's his cell, where he was in prison in Turkey. And we rebuilt the cell, and we had it in Berlin and in Amsterdam. It's going now to Paris, or was in Paris, and to Strasbourg. But there the logistics are a real problem. You know, in this case we use a 7.5-tonner lorry. For the cell we need like 20-ton lorry, and you don't have drivers for that. You know, it's not only the UK, also the journalists lack lorry drivers, and I don't have a license.
Did you receive any critique from the local maybe right-wing organizations, or any resistance during the exhibition?
The security was a huge issue, but we did it like this. We opened the exhibition in the morning and folded everything together in the evening. So in the night there was no exhibition. That was okay, no trouble in nights, we can sleep well. We had a couple of right-wingers approaching us, but it was only taking photos of us, so no problem.
But we worked really close with the police, and in this case it worked quite well.
Yeah.
So.
There were only 3 attacks on the exhibition, and these 3 attacks were one very drunk youngster, 15 years old, and another guy who was more or less, what was it, a junkie.
Yeah.
And they were fed up with the pandemic, and they just jumped into the exhibition. That was all.
But we were also really careful because we have to protect the people of our portraits.
Yeah.
I'm interested in like how did the exhibition took place? Like you said, you put the pictures, the portraits of them to the marketplace, and you were there to talk with the people. How did this happen? Like was there some? How did the people on the market interact with you? What was maybe the point what they were more interested in?
Ich erzähle vielleicht, wie das losgeht und dann voneinander. Also, what was very important to how present the exhibition, we worked together with a kind of architect, and he gave us the idea of what it should look like. And we made the frames of the exhibition as crosshairs. So they look like crosshairs, more or less. So we put all the frames on the market square as in crosshairs. So when you look from above, you see it's only crosshairs. The whole city, the whole market is in crosshairs. And this is a very simple idea, which you can use to put it everywhere where you want. You're just putting up crosshairs, which is like easy to understand. So this was pretty easy. And
Yeah, and we have also flyers. We gave it to the people, and then we asked, do you have any questions? So it was like kind of hard work because you have to be there all the time and you have to get in contact with people, and sometimes they don't want to talk with you. But yeah, with these flyers and with like also our local partners, they were sometimes like really helpful because the people know them and they ask, oh, what are you doing here and what is this exhibition is about? And also with these portraits, they are so big, and you see, the first time you see faces and people are interested in people, so they came often by themselves.
yeah, and just say, what is this guy about? You know, there's no explanation to it. It's just a guy, and then it's, what is it about? And they start to think, they start to talk, and that works. And these two guys who were like every day in the morning and in the evening putting up the exhibition, in the evening putting down, folding them, and they were also all the time around. We had a Ford Transit. I don't know what's in English, I guess also Ford Transit. And so there was a tent. We always had some logistic at the spot. Yeah?
Hi, my name is Sophia. Thank you for your presentation. And are you already thinking to collaborate with another organizations in media because of the unfortunate rise of the far right in different countries? For example, in my country, Spain, pro-Semitism. Are you maybe thinking about this?
Ach so.
Weißt du das nicht besser?
Yeah, I think if I understood it right, the question was whether we would like to cooperate on stuff like this.
Because I mean, the rise of the far right
Yeah.
is happening well all over Europe as well as in my country. I mean, the movement is very big, and also there are already parliament. There is the far right group that called Vox that incites so many people
Yeah.
to I mean, anti-immigration law, so many violence, so on, so on.
Yeah.
So I thought that with you, I mean, the investigation is really good. That if you are thinking to expand or collaborate or work together with another organization in Spain or in Italy or in France.
To be honest, I haven't thought about that, but it might be really a good idea. And I mean, the task is pretty simple. It's like everybody has got people in crosshairs. Just a couple of pictures add to this, and then it can go around. Why not?
And we can share our knowledge. So we have already some knowledge, so it would be maybe a little bit easier for you. So we can definitely like change informations and share it.
And I mean, if it's documents from Portugal or whatever, it can be also in the library, and why not on the different languages? It works with Russian, so it might work with Portuguese as well.
Okay, so
Oh.
thank you. We'll talk to you
Yeah.
later.
I have two questions. The first one would be if people from your collective are now also on some sort of death list from Nazis, if you have heard of this yet, like if you became a target during your work. And the second one was again how to access the databases. I mean,
Hmm? Access to the hidden library is per email. You can send it either to you or to me, and then it's not open. It's when we say we trust you, then it's open. And yeah, some of our colleagues, of course, they are on death list. But this is a good thing about Germany. It's, in this case, just a name on a list. So we don't see any threat on that. You know, we are not living in the war zone, or
But just before you said
not yet.
200 people were killed by
Yeah, this is contradicting myself.
Yeah, but one of our colleague, Till, was part of the exhibition. So one of our colleague take also part because he's off this enemy list. And it's like a danger, we have to work with it. We have to deal with it, I think.
Which percent of 30,000 people know that they are in these lists? You say the first percent.
Only a tiny fraction. Maybe of these 35,000 people, only maybe 1,000, maybe less, know that they are on this kind of list. Police is not informing them.
These people never chance to check, for example, I don't know.
They don't have an option to check somewhere. If they call us, we can check. But it's not possible to publish the names. It's not possible to, this is something police should do. But they are not doing it. That's it, end of story.
Yeah, and sometimes it was quite hard because we informed the people, like, we phone them always and ask for a phone call because we had to be sure that they are not like in the car or something and that threaten it. And so we have a call with them, and sometimes they didn't know it. And yeah, they were quite shocked.
I have a question about the library. How does it work? I suppose you don't have to put in every name when you read it. Is there an algorithm that scans for names, scans for emails? Is there something about that? Can you tell me about it?
It works with Aleph. You know Aleph?
No.
Some of you, I guess, heard of Aleph. Aleph is a database which is very useful. It was developed by Pudo. He was a lead developer, and he's happened to be a friend of ours. And some of the guys who are working on it very closely, like Simon Wörpel, who used to work with us also for quite a long time. And in this database, you've got a pre-collection, for example, on names that are very often in this list. You've got different data sets, different investigations you can start. Then you see which name is in which email, who sends whom an email, and who is receiving what kind of information. And then it's very useful if you search, for example, for, I don't know, if somebody is in court and you only want to read about people who already have been prosecuted, you can search for this, and then you get a lot of names on a list you can check further on. And you see the connections between these guys. They are together in one document, they are together writing emails to each other and stuff like that. It's very, very helpful.
Sorry, is the database only in English and German, or is it in other European languages?
Right now, this was what I thought when this colleague from Portugal asked this question. Right now it's in German because we did our work in German. The database itself, it's in every language you can imagine. Not every. Chinese is difficult. But like all languages you use from left to right, no problem. And if we say we start this European-wide, we could put in there also documents and files and stuff of interest that is in other languages. Why not? And then there was sometimes when the Blood and Honor organizations was working all of Europe on the music part, I'm pretty sure that different police organizations or Antifa movements have information that could be collected in something like this. And this might be helpful. I mean, good idea. Why not?
Maybe the people who are interested in it could give us their names and email address.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the time frame.
It's almost over.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we are in time. Any more questions? No? Then we go
Yeah.
for coffee. No?
Oh,
Okay,
two.
two. The last two questions, then coffee.
Just want to ask a question about your organization. You said that the Correctiv involves 63 Germans around the Europe. I understood well. And I would just want to know how much of these journalists works full time for Correctiv and how much works just occasionally.
You mean for the research? So I think it were like 15 journalists full time, but our local partners also did some other research for their newspaper. So I think for them it was like 8 hours a week, I would say, for the research.
Yeah. And when it comes down to full-time employees with Correctiv who like dig into it, did the research work itself, it was 2 or 3
Yeah.
for all the project time? Yeah.
And our logistics,
And logistics.
they work half a year for it.
Sorry, have you investigated, like, how do they pick their targets? Like, did you talk with them?
This is extremely difficult to answer.
But sometimes they do it with leaks also, and they, as you already said, they do copy and paste. But in the pandemic, for example, we saw like changing focuses, for example, for scientists or politicians who are fighting against the pandemic. So we could also see some changes.
Yeah, but what is, from my perspective, so funny about it, there's no obvious reason. There is just people who are for open society. You say something that it's like, I want a society where everybody can speak, and it's your name behind it. You can be on such a list. Because some Nazis said, this is whatever, left wing, right wing, whatever. They say, should be killed. It's completely crazy and insane. And there's nothing like, we have a political mission, and for this political mission we need to kill this person so we can have an impact on this political question. Absolutely not. It's without any political reason. It's just about killing people who are...
They are just bored, they don't know.
Yeah, and they do it like this. They kill people just in a kiosk, just in a small bar. They walk in, kill somebody because he's...
Yeah, and they want to scare us, like our open and democratic society.
Yeah. Here, last question.
Curiosity, because obviously you have a very strong knowledge of the German society. A lot of the people who are of the far extreme right, are they more affiliated with the NPD, or are you also seeing that the ARD has more extreme affiliations than we see, than they like to portray in the media?
This is extremely difficult to answer. There are some of them that will tend to be in a political way, but when it comes down to the right-wing terrorists, they don't have, from my point of view, a real party affiliation in any ways. They don't even have a political affiliation in any ways. It's really strange. It's more like they see themselves as political warriors, as society warriors, and they would like to create, they call it the final racial war, where everybody kills each other, and in the end of this war, then there will become a new society, and this society will be real free and real fascist, whatever. And there's not even a political vision for this. It's just we do a war, and after the war, everything is good. And I'm the warrior in this war, so I have to kill people. I mean, I made a book about this. It's crazy.
But is the NPD the kind of radicalization vehicle for it, primarily?
Not really. The MPD and AfD and this stuff, they are right-wingers, they are fascist, this is true, but they are in a political way, they are not going to terrorize people. They're not going to kill people on the streets. The right-wing terrorists we are talking about, they kill people in the streets. They organize themselves. They try to kill more people. They are focused on killing. On this political side, they are not the vehicle to radicalize these people. The AfD and so on, NPD and however, these people are so dangerous because they structure money flows and they provide the fascist guys with money supplies. And this is the danger in that. But it's not in a political way. Politically.
And we saw also politicians from the AfD on this enemy list sometimes.
Yeah.
So they give money.
Now, the political parties, now the right-wing parties in Germany, they get funded as a political party, and some of this money is allocated to these right-wing fascist groups. But as they are not really big groups, as more like cells, sometimes it happens that somebody of this cell is working for the AfD or for NPD, and this way he gets money. It's not in a structured way, in the sense they are financing the right-wing extremism terrorists. No.
Okay.
Okay, we are finished. We are done.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.